Hello, I'm Kimberly Williams Paisley. Like all parents, I hope my children live a long and healthy life. However, in a recent study, Tennessee's children ranked among the most overweight in the country.
Obesity is defined as an individual, or in this case, a child, that is over the average weight for their age.
If this trend continues, the current generation of children will not live as long as their parents. Why do our children rank so poorly in obesity rates? Why have rates skyrocketed in just a few decades? How can we stop and even reverse the expanding waistlines of our children? Join me as we explore the answers to these questions on this edition of NPT Reports Children's Health Crisis.
Being in the South, we eat a lot of fattening things. We eat macaroni and cheese, fried cube steak, fried chicken, and that's what we're used to. That's what I've grown up doing. I've done what my parents done.
Children learn by example. When a child sees their parents drinking something, they're going to want the same thing or something similar. Many children have started drinking coffee drinks that are blended, topped with whipped cream, chocolate, caramel, and other unhealthy items.
Sugar is poison. It is a chronic, not acute, chronic dose dependent, depends on how much you eat, because there is a safe threshold, liver toxin, the metabolic disease that are associated with obesity, the diabetes.
In the late 1970s, early 1980s, type 2 diabetes was never seen in children. That was the distinguishing feature between the two diabetes. We see as much or more type 2 diabetes in children now as we do type 1.
Asthma is another common medical condition that can either worsen or develop due to obesity. When a child is overweight, it is often difficult for them to breathe like they were able to before.
Obese children can also suffer from sleep apnea, high blood pressure, early puberty, bone and joint problems, and limitations on their physical activity. We know when we see a 12-year-old who is markedly obese that there is no way, unless we effect change, that the child will not escape the effects of diabetes, stroke, heart attack, and hypertension in their late 30s or 40s.
The diabetes, the heart disease, the lipid problems, the strokes, the cancer, those diseases are being driven by sugar.
The problem is that we don't think much of it when we initially give a child an unhealthy snack. We will give a child Cheetos here and ice cream there. We want our children to be like us, and we want them to like the things that we like, yet we don't think about the long-term effects that these snacks may have on our children. Unfortunately, bullying is a huge problem in schools today, and when a child is overweight, they are more likely to be bullied.
The first time that I think he ever mentioned the teasing, calling him fat or something, I think it was probably around the age of 8. Some girls told him they wanted to see how fast he could run, and he ran. And later, another girl came up to him and told him that they were laughing at him, and they just wanted him to run so they could see his fat shake. He stayed upset about that for so long.
Some children won't even realize anything is wrong with their bodies until they're made fun of or teased. From this, many children will lose self-esteem as they look at themselves in the mirror, and they are made aware of their flaws.
The environment that our kids are now living in is a much more obesogenic environment. In 2009, $1.8 billion was spent on food advertising directed at children. Tammy Olgood spends a lot of time in grocery stores, not shopping for food, but analyzing how products are sold to consumers. So imagine that a child is in this cart. Notice what they are going to be seeing that's here at eye level, and even older children are going to be seeing this at eye level. So these are the high sugar cereals that are going to always appeal to children. The appeal?
Then you add the emotional gloss. You add other things. You add favorite cartoon characters. You make it into entertainment. You add toys. And then you add the carnival-like features. You add all these other layers of stimuli. And in the end, you end up with one of the great public health epidemics of our time.
Children used to never be targeted for food. Now they're constantly targeted for certain snacks or certain things that they want to carry in their lunchbox or what they want to have for dinner. Pester power is powerful. Manufacturers realize that in order to sometimes quiet a child, he will say, "Okay, fine, that's what we will buy." Food manufacturers also responded to the increasing number of working parents with little time to prepare a meal from scratch. Convenience and fast food options exploded in the last 30 years.
Driving through a fast food restaurant for dinner, lunch, and breakfast is easy and cheap. We get tired and worn out from our daily duties and often resort to the cheapest and quickest food that we can find so that we don't have to actually cook anything. When we resort to fast food for our children, we are beginning to teach them how to adapt to bad eating habits.
Typically, there's nothing wrong with convenience of processed products. But what we are seeing is that those products are replacing fresh in the diet. And when that happens, that's when you see a spike in the number of calories that are consumed that are always going to lead to excess weight.
It costs more to eat healthier, so we slip, and I'm not going to say we don't, because it's easier to go in there and buy the cereals with the sugar in it. It's easier to buy chips because it's cheaper.
For lower socioeconomic families, some of the reverse has been instilled to them: if it's cheap, let's eat it. The cheapest thing, as we know here in America, is not always the best thing for us.
In turn, a child's diet will be made up of fast food, processed goods, foods that can be made quickly. Take macaroni and cheese, for example. You can get a box of macaroni and cheese for less than 99 cents in most stores.
All those weird ingredients that you see in the processed food, the maltodextrin, the xanthan gum, all those words you can't pronounce. So you have the government in this crazy schizophrenic situation where, on the one hand, they're subsidizing precisely foods that are making us sick, and then on the other are now on the hook to set the standards for school lunches for our kids.
For most children, school food accounts for a third of their daily dietary needs. For some children, the breakfast and lunch program at their school will be the only meals they eat in a given day.
When a child purchases his lunch at school, they are most likely not getting the healthiest lunch on the market. School lunches are often over-processed, filled with salt and sugar, and contain a great deal of fat.
Chili cheese fries, nachos, fried chicken, all these fattening and greasy foods are just clogging up our schools. School, we're supposed to be healthy. My school has nachos every day for school, and 3/4 of our students in high school choose nachos. All my bad decisions are when I'm at school.
In days past, you used to be able to get brownies and cookies and other items like that. Now they're oatmeal cookies and small Rice Krispie treats instead of the large brownie that they used to be able to get. They're still high in sugar, high in fat, and high in sodium.
Not only are schools serving children incredibly unhealthy lunches, they're also cutting back on their physical education programs. Compared to previous years, where physical education occurred every day, a child is now lucky if he has physical education once a week.
Being active dramatically improves your health. So increasing activity in kids is likely to help them achieve a healthier weight because they have not yet finished growing, but additionally, simply being more active will make them healthier. The solutions to obesity are not identifying a pill or identifying a shot. The solutions to obesity are more complex. But we're beginning to realize that what we need to do is get out in the community and change lifestyles. Within individual families, change begins with parents. You control what it is that the child is eating, and you can decide to make healthy choices for your child.
Start out slow, and first start incorporating low-fat items.
We started eating different things, more fruits and vegetables. We limit our starches, we limit our breads, we keep healthier snacks.
Beware of what your child is drinking. If you're unsure of a drink that they are asking for and the nutritional facts are not available, resort to either low-fat milk or a juice drink that is low in sugar.
The most important thing you can do, and it's challenging for many people, is cook real food. You can forget about nutrients. You don't have to worry about sugars. If you cook real food, your family will be eating much better.
While most days you should be incorporating home-cooked meals into your menu for the week, if you're going to choose something from a fast food restaurant, make sure that whatever you're buying is the healthiest option out there for yourself and for your children.
One big opportunity we can seek for having an impact here is changing the environment of the schools.
Teachers and educators need to make sure that other subjects and areas should be focused on, such as physical education. Physical education encourages children to go outside more and move around.
Schools have to meet reductions of sugars, fats, and sodium in foods and increase the availability of fresh fruits and vegetables.
Some people are already trying to change the environment and improve the conditions of our children. There are even some kids who are taking on their own schools in order to remove sugar-sweetened beverages from the cafeteria.
Most schools have eliminated soda and snack machines from campus, which is a huge step. Schools have also started to eliminate cupcakes and candy from the classroom as well. While this is a work in progress, there are changes that have started to be made.
As for policy, what it can do is nudge us in a direction that's more beneficial.
I hope with time the politicians will have the courage to take on the industry the way it really needs to happen. There are other countries now who have prohibited junk food marketing to kids, stopped serving junk food in schools, started taxing soda. These are things that I'd like to see us leading the way on.
Also, we have got to make additional investments in low-income communities if we expect them to be able to make the changes that they need to make to reverse this epidemic.
Our business model is to go into underserved areas, into food deserts, and try to make them food oases, and make sure we bring access to fresh, affordable, healthy food. This is supposed to be the first generation of American children expected to live shorter lives than their parents did. So we have to ask ourselves, what legacy are we leaving our children? What kind of conditions are we exposing them to that would make this come true?
If we fail to reverse childhood obesity rates, our community will suffer right along with our children's health. The solutions require all of us to engage in making Tennessee a healthy place to live. Please join me in learning more about the children's health crisis in Tennessee and what you can do about it by tuning in to NPT's ongoing coverage and by going to w.npt.org/children's health.